I'm Tara Gatewood from Isleta Pueblo, and I'm the host and producer of Native America Calling. And each weekday, we bring you different conversations. We connect to stations across Turtle Island and beyond about topics that are connected to Native communities.
So I'm Antonia Gonzalez, the anchor and producer of National Native News. And National Native News is a 5-minute program that covers Indigenous issues about people across the United States and around the world. More than 25 years ago, National Native News was created to help bring Indigenous voices to the air, and that's what we do on National Native News. It's a stringer-based program, so we work with more than 50 stringers across the United States and Canada. We've also had reports filed from Australia and Latin America. Anywhere there's Indigenous people, we will cover the issues, whether it's social, economic, cultural, even pop culture. So I always like to say that give me a story, I will find the Indigenous issue.
And we learn about who we are as Native people today. We also hear about the cultures and histories that we all connect to. And we open up our electronic talking circle to hear the voices of many different Native nations about how they connect to media today, as well as keep their cultures and languages strong. And so it's a unique opportunity to learn more about who we are as Native peoples, and it bridges many different voices and tribal nations together. I think it's a very huge accomplishment that we're able to bring so many voices together.
I think National Native News is important because we need to have, well, for one, it's produced from an Indigenous perspective, and it was created so that we could have accurate and fair reporting about Indigenous people. And that's something that we often see that is not in mainstream media, especially when it comes to these big stories. For example, a few years ago with the huge lobbying scandal, Jack Abramoff, that was everywhere across the country and around the globe, and people were talking about this disgraced lobbyist, but they were missing the point that the money that he was getting was from the tribes, and nobody was really reporting on that.
Native America Calling provides a live place where people can connect and share their thoughts. It encourages Native people to share their take on life. It also gives people an opportunity to learn about who we are as Native people. And because it is an audio source, you can tune in some places that you couldn't with video. And so a lot of our tribal communities really hold on to that ability to broadcast this in their own community. And so it's really unique because it is live every day, and the audience, you never know who's tuned in. And so whoever's present each day is a reflection of the topic or the different guests and what they're saying and engaging. And so it gives this unique opportunity to understand what Native people are thinking. And so it's the only kind in existence, and it's been around 17 years. But even in the times of threats to the end of radio, we keep it strong because we're able to have conversations. And so people who are in the audience, it's a very inviting format for people to share their thoughts.
And it's important that we highlight our history, whether it's good or bad. What would our history be like if our microphones were there back in the past? So we look at a variety of issues. It could be a person, it could be a place, it could be an event, and it could be good, bad, whatever, so that we are carrying on the legacy of Indian country by sharing our history and also celebrating our history as well.
So we covered a program about drunk driving, and this issue in some communities doesn't get put on the table, and sometimes some of these common occurrences in our communities get looked over. And so we opened up our talking circle to ask the questions of what drunk driving, the impacts that it had on tribal communities, and we invited parents who lost their children to this. And so throughout the hour, people were able to express the impact of what happens when this occurs in their communities, when Native people are either the victims of these accidents or are the people who are behind the wheel.
And seeing a community be in Turtle Mountain suppressed by the loss of so many.
You know, I've learned my lesson. You know, people out there, if you're drinking, stop. You have loved ones that love you. You know, I go out, you know, I'm nervous right now, but...
You're doing well, Carol.
It is so guilt, such a guilt trip that you go on, you know, every day. I thank God. A few years back, I met
we didn't shy away from this topic, although some people would shy away because it is one of the stereotypes that Native Americans are drunk people. And so we went right in and made this a topic because we needed to explore. And there were several people who called throughout the hour who owned it. And we even had a person who called in and knew it was wrong, but on air shared their story of how it impacted lives. And as the hour moved, got a really broad spectrum of how drunk driving affects Native people. And so because it is a live hour, you invite the listening audience to be able to also participate. And so sometimes people who may not feel comfortable talking about this in front of tons of people, or maybe even in their own family, they use our talking circle as a place to say things that maybe they don't tell anyone else, or they've never shared with another person. And so it makes the hour extremely real. And that's why the work that we put into it has to be very concentrated and focused, because we are dealing with people's lives.
It's very important that we help and continue to grow future Native American broadcasters. There's a lot of Native people who are in the media, a lot of print people, and there's also a lot of younger generations who are interested in doing media in a new way. And so I think it's important that we help our younger generations get into this and find mentors and learn more about broadcasting, and especially radio, because radio is very important in tribal communities. You can go to a tribal community, for example, in the Southwest, and the radio station will be on at the gas station. You'll go to the clinic, the radio station will be on the clinic. And of course, radio station will be on in cars and homes. So I think it's really important that we keep up and get future generations involved in Native radio.
What we do is something that contributes to the entire nation's history as well. And so we invite you to join us as well. Call-in number is 1-800-99-NATIVE, and we invite you to explore our electronic talking circle and tune in and hear what people think about us and what Indian country has to say.